the way that we decided how a kickplate should be turned out to be better than all the other ones on the market. So
and I want a good show, damn it. Ready for a good show?
Doing awesome, yeah. I'm excited to talk to you, Angie. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Always been doing big into archery, and my dad said, "Hey, you guys want to start an archery store?"
That's how it was.
Yes, of course, let's do this together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Ecomm Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ecomm Show. As usual, I am your host, Andrew Maff, and today I am joined by the amazing Tucker Hiegel, who is the CEO and co-founder over at Deck the Door Decor. Tucker, how you doing, buddy? You ready for a good show?
I'm good, man. I'm ready. How about you?
Doing good. Super appreciative of you doing this with us. Super excited to talk to you. Obviously, you and I have been talking for a little while, so that everyone knows, I know you a little bit more so than some of the guests I have on the show that just surprised me that day of. So I know a little bit of the background, but I still kind of like starting these off pretty stereotypically and kind of give you the floor. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started with Deck the Door, and we'll take it from there.
Cool. Yeah. So I'll try to make sure I don't ramble because, as you already know, I have a tendency to kind of.
It's good, man. It makes my job easier.
Well, so it's a pretty wild story how we got started, and there's a full video about the whole story if you want to hear all the nitty gritty details. And since that exists, I will try to keep it short. Essentially, we got started. So Deck the Door Decor is our company. That's our brand name. We're a small door hardware manufacturer in St. Louis, Missouri. And so we make everything in-house right here, just on the other side of the wall, ship all over the country, and we're launching internationally, I'm thinking in June. That's the goal, at least. Who knows?
Nice.
The way that we got started, we focus primarily on door plates right now. But hence the name, the brand name, we intend to move into more lines of hardware. But we ended up focusing on door kick plates mainly because my mom is kind of an eclectic like designer, had this idea to customize a kick plate and just did it willy-nilly with stuff she had laying around the house. She was actually prepping the backyard for a feature in Better Home and Garden magazine. And so she was trying to cover up all this edge at the bottom of the door that was like the garage entry.
Yeah.
And she was like all worried about it, didn't want it to be on camera. So that was the inspiration behind this kick plate that she made with like paint and stencils and stuff, right? And it just turned into like we would have company over, people would ask her where she got it, which turned into, will you make me one? And then we had a lady who actually owned a custom lampshade company who was like, you guys need to turn this into a business. So that's kind of the long and short of it is at the time I was kind of graduating college. So we started in 2013 and it was a lot of R&D to figure out how to make a good kick plate, all the manufacturing processes, how do we modify kick plates in a uniform way so that we have a, reliable, repeatable product that consumers can expect, quality, all that kind of stuff. And then a lot of stuff happened along the way. I brought on a new business partner finally in 2020, and we had our whole range of struggles. But when I brought her on, Monica, as our chief operations officer, it was just night and day difference. And so we ended up having to carry all this back stock of just like regular blank kick plates ready to be modified. By modified, I mean like we engrave people's home address or a monogram or family, Hiegel family established in 2019. that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Business logos for corporations, car dealerships, stuff like that. But we ended up having all this blank inventory. And I was like, man, like this stuff is just sitting here. We got all this money and wrapped up in all these plates that are just sitting here.
Yeah.
I was like, so let's list it on Amazon, right? I had put all of our R&D into figuring out how to modify kickplates, and kind of, I did not realize, I didn't do any like real research into how to make a kickplate, and it turns out that we make the best kickplates because of, and
Happy
that,
accident.
maybe that's like the German or like weird, you know, that comes from growing up. If you're going to do something, do it right. But like just in the way that me and my brother, who's a master fabricator, he's our head of production, the way that we decided how a kickplate should be turned out to be better than all the other ones on the market. So, and we didn't know,
man.
That's not what we were setting out to do.
Yeah.
But so anyway, we ended up listing all of our backstock inventory on Amazon, and that's what really started to scale for us. So yeah, where we're at today is, riding the Amazon train, and then trying to find ways to expand above that, which hopefully you're going to help us do. I think we got a good plan for that. So
that's the goal. We, for context for some of the listeners, we've been talking about helping with diversification, because obviously everyone and their mother knows that I'm not the world's biggest fan of being reliant on Amazon. But so family run business, man. So, mom comes up with the idea more or less accidentally. You run the business. Your brother's the fabricator. What's that like? I've worked with family before. I don't know that I would do it again.
yeah, so I've heard that we've got a long lineage of family businesses on both sides of the family, my mom and my dad's side, and both of them have, I would say, like turbulent and tumultuous endings for those companies, for extraneous circumstances, and then the obvious of working with family and egos, and that the power struggles and poor communication and just all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Our family is kind of in a weird mix because just timeline wise, like when I was born, my family had like a farming empire in Arkansas that collapsed.
Oh, wow.
And so my mother grew up with a way different lifestyle than what I grew up with. So like I started this whole company with nothing on credit cards, whereas, her family, she was supposed to have an inheritance, and, it was a farm, so it collapsed and there was nothing left. And so like, she grew up with a certain kind of lifestyle that I have yet to see. Hopefully I'll get there. But, so that kind of made a different setting where I would say internally, our family had a whole lot of struggle outside of business before we ever started to work together. And again, not just by proxy, we ended up working through a lot of those struggles. And we work together very well now at the age we're at. So I would say that we have worked on stuff that most families never will,
Yeah.
And that's probably the leg up on working with family now. Here's the other thing is we're all first, it's me and my brother, so we're all of the same generation. There's no like dad built a business and he thinks it should be this way, and my brothers are young and dumb and we think we should do it this way. So we don't have any of that also.
Yeah, that's good. The one of the things I was thinking about, especially when you and I first started talking, it's a kick plate. Like you see them all the time, but you don't really think anything about it. You don't like, I never walked by one and go like, oh, why isn't that better looking? Like, it's just never one of the things that you think about. I know that you more or less coined that term, like, what was it? Utilitarian art, right?
Yeah.
So like, where did you figure out that there doesn't necessarily need to be a line between functionality and design, and that you can have it kind of both ways?
Well, that may just be like, again, like an odd mix of the people who started the company. So my mom's
Yeah.
super eclectic,
Yeah.
and my dad's side is very analytical, and I'm kind of a weird mix of the two. Where
Yeah.
um, so those are two different trains of thought, schools of thought that are mixed together within there. But so my we started the company with the focus more on the artistic side.
Yeah.
And as we grew and as we were figuring out how to do stuff, we initially started off subcontracting manufacturing to other local companies. Like we've always made our products have always been made and sourced in the USA, but not always by us.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a degree in business, so I have more familiar. That was like my area when I was starting the company with my mom, was like figuring out how we do this,
Yeah.
which initially just turned into plates that people would want, and like when we first started, black hardware was really in. Nobody would touch brass,
Mm-hmm.
so it was like trying to figure out what people wanted and how kick plates should be. It's a weird niche that was just a big gap in the market that we found out. So one of the things that we designed was the 3M. It's trademarked as the stick and kick adhesive mount door kick plate,
Yeah.
and those are really hard to find. I think there's a couple other companies that offer them, but they're real hard to find. Not too many companies even offer it, and if they do, they use like cheap off-brand adhesive, and it's like made in China type stuff.
Yeah.
So that's one of our best-selling products is the 3M adhesive mount. Another one of our products is this these dog scratch door protection plates. I don't know if you can
Oh,
see it,
yeah.
but like that's some of the paw prints engraved on there. And so
Nice. So
like
that's for the people that are just listening, that's the it's like the part that goes like directly under the door handle for the most part, which tends to be where most dogs just go to town if
yeah.
you're leaving them locked in somewhere.
Yeah. So it's vertical. It goes right under the doorknob. We sell it in all different sizes. But it's got, man, it's kind of hard to tell. But so it's got radius cut corners and beveled edges, so the dog can't catch their paw on it. It's adhesive mounts. You don't have
Smart.
screw heads sticking out. So all of that is kind of utility baked in on like what's the best product, because all these other people are just flooding the market with overseas junk, and
Mm-hmm.
like it's all low cost leader, so we can't compete with that. So really the only option was like, well, we have to make the best one then, because we can't meet price.
Yeah.
And so those different manufacturing steps have helped cross that bridge between like utility. It's strange because the whole product started off as it's just a utilitarian, like it's almost a commodity. Like if you're going to have a door, you have to have a doorknob, and if
Yeah.
you're smart and you don't want to replace the door or repaint the door because repainting doors sucks, then you should get a
Mm-hmm.
kick plate too, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those weird products, like you were saying, that everybody knows what it is, but not off the top of their head. It's like a
Yeah.
background, tertiary, unaware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you've ever seen a kick plate on a door, like it's kind of a statement piece too. I mean, it takes up a big piece of the door. They work great. They save the door from damage. They do all this stuff, but it's like it's this big billboard thing that it could be so much more than what it is.
Yeah.
You like the first set of kick plates I ever sold, I have the check framed on our office over here, is from a local Volvo dealership that I actually helped build. And so they bought some all for the showroom. So that I was like, if utilitarian, commercial, industrial kick plates are always just to make the place not look bad in high
Yeah.
traffic areas. And it's like, well, you could always put your logo on that or use it for like OSHA signage they require to identify doors.
Yeah.
Well, if you're already paying for this thing to put on the door, why buy a separate sign that says exit and clutter everything up? So like
Yeah.
yeah, it's just an opportunity to do things a little bit different.
Yeah. It's interesting because, all this stuff kind of ties into, like, I end up just beating a dead horse with saying this stuff over and over again. But, like, to your point of, you're a clear example of a product that there's just so much overseas competition coming in with, like, cheap versions of them that just don't last, but doesn't really come off that way as obvious on something like at Amazon. So they're getting the sales and they are the least expensive. But then you get the product and you're like, great, I'm going to have to order this damn thing again in a month because it's going to break. Like, one of my favorite terms is cheap is expensive. You get something cheap, you end up having to buy it over and over again. And so it ends up just becoming a waste. And I really believe that over the course of the next, like, 5 to 10 years, if Amazon keeps trending in this direction, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Brands are going to start to get away from it, and everyone's going to have to really lean into quality and, differentiation, and really being like a premium product. So to your point of it not only being like it's not a piece of crap, but it's also something that you can make a statement piece for B2B, it makes a ton of sense. It's also really interesting for the home. I know, like, to get a kick plate of just, if you want it monogrammed or you want to have your address on it or something like that, like, it's a really nice way to kind of elevate it. And I know one of the things, like, you and I talked about is, like, a lot of these influencers that do, like, both kind of interior and exterior decorating, like, they love to make the entryway just this beautiful, stunning, like, welcome to my home kind of thing. And sometimes you see these videos of these influencers with these beautiful doors and these awesome flowers, and then just this scuffed up junk kick plate at the bottom of it. So it's a very interesting, it's an incredibly interesting market that, like, does anyone, in fact, that kind of starts stems, I got it. It kind of stems to another question. Do you have, like, competitors in terms of, like, the customization element at all, or is it mostly just people just doing it's just a blanket flat thing?
Yeah, it's an afterthought. So no, we don't have any direct competitors. There's a few people that have seen our products and, like, have tried to recreate some of it on Etsy with, like,
Oh yeah.
a
Oh
vinyl monogram on, but at scale, no.
yeah, you can't do that.
And so all the products that we sell are unavailable everyone. They're pretty exclusive. Like, we
Yeah.
have hammered copper kick plates, like, you can't buy those anywhere else. Engraved kick plates, you can't buy those anywhere else. Dog scratch plates, at least for the next 17 years until my utility patent runs out, you can't buy those anywhere else. It's funny to speak to your point you're talking about with quality with Amazon. So to this day, like I said, like, in the movement of startup fervor, I was like, let's list all these kick plates on Amazon. I didn't do any, like, what you're supposed to do, product research, look at the competition or any of that stuff. But by selling on Amazon, we started to get returns and we would get stolen stuff. I'm, like,
Hmm.
apprehensive to even say this because I don't want to give people ideas, but whatever. So people would buy, like, the Chinese one for $30 and then ours for 78 and compare the two. And then I would get to compare what the competition is selling out there,
Hmm.
because people would return the poopy kick plate and our expensive
Yeah.
packaging, right? But yeah, like, what would show up with sharp edges and just everything's wrong about it. Like, the diameter, the kick plate holes, everything that's supposed to go in the quality of, like, making a kick plate
Yeah.
is not there. And people see that. If you compare it, if you hold both products in your hand, it's really obvious.
Yeah.
And um, yeah,
Every Amazon seller is probably screaming right now, just thinking, like, oh, I fucking hate when that happens. Like, the amount of times I've heard that, that's got to be so wildly frustrating. Of, like, because you also can't. Amazon does nothing about it. Like, if you turn around, you're like, hey, this isn't ours. Amazon's just like, tough. Like, they returned it. It is what it is. You got it back, and it's like, dude, like, that's another, God, platform is ridiculous.
yeah.
Sorry, I digress.
No, it is. It's tough. It's tough. We have a love-hate relationship with Amazon because, like I said, like, we wouldn't be at the point we're at today without the
Yeah.
scale that they've offered. But, like, it's been a brutal fight because, man, Like Amazon makes a lot more money on the products I sell than I do. And so, thank God that there's scale there, because without scale, like the break even to sell on Amazon in our category is astronomical.
Yeah.
I don't know how other people are doing it, honestly. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's, in my opinion, it's the overseas sellers have bigger margins, so it's justified. There's the ones that do it the way that I think is usually the best, at least for certain product lines, which is like you just use it as like a customer acquisition channel, but then you find ways to, convert them off Amazon eventually. And then you have the other ones that are just like, they're totally fine with single digit profit margins, and, it is what it is. Some brands, you can get enough volume on Amazon that you kind of build your own little brand on Amazon so that people are searching your brand name. And so that kind of helps with CPCs and things like that. But it's also the brands that like, it happens a lot. I see with apparel, where like apparel brands, they'll have a ton of different stuff, those seasonal things like that. So it kind of is what it is. But then they'll have like their evergreen stuff that they sell a lot of all year. And that's the only thing that they sell on Amazon. And they're just there to protect their brand name. So they're not running ads. They're typically shipping stuff on their own. They're not dealing with, all of the extra bells and whistles of Amazon, but it's still like to benefit from Prime, to benefit from all of the stuff that Amazon offers. It's like, yeah, you can benefit from it, but you're not going to make much. You're just paying them more.
Yeah. For us, realistically, the only reason why Amazon makes any sense is because we are building a brand outside of that. If the end game was just to sell door kick plates on Amazon, that would have been, it'd just be a waste of time. It's not a career,
Yeah. No, it's not. But Tucker, this was awesome. Super appreciate you having the show. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you're super busy. I'd love to give you the opportunity, let everyone know where they can find out more about you, and of course more about Deck the Door Decor.
Yeah. I appreciate you having me on. It's been fun, and maybe we'll have to do it again sometime. I was like,
I'll be here.
Yeah. So as far as all of our products are all available at deckthedoordecor.com. Our social media handle is at Kickplate. So it's also our phone number. So KICKPL,
Nice.
the number 8. It's got to be 7 digits. But yeah, you can find us all over the place out there on the interwebs. And I don't know. I personally am not a very large footprint online, but my company is. So
we'll get you out there.
Cool.
Beautiful. Thanks, Tucker. Again, obviously, everyone that tuned in, thank you as well. You know the usual: rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff on whichever podcast platform you prefer, or head over to the ecommshow.com to check out all of our previous episodes. But as usual, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ecomm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The Ecomm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the Ecomm Show.